Okay, Purim.
The story begins.
Story begins, man.
Right.
Isn't that awesome? The story begins. Purim. So, if you look into the Megillah, right, the beginning of the story of Purim is Achashverosh holding his wild party, getting so drunk that he invites his wife Vashti, who is an evil queen in her own right, to attend the party in a promiscuous manner. She refuses to come, and he puts her to death. And now at this point in the Megillah, he's looking for a new queen. He's looking for a new queen. He has all the women of the city come and partake in the beauty contest. And the Megillah at this point is about to introduce Mordechai and Esther. And introduces Mordechai and Esther as these people that have no interest in anything that's going on. Esther's not interested in the beauty contest. She's hiding. She doesn't want to be the queen. Mordechai is not interested in Haman, who also rises to the occasion at this point. And that's ultimately what irked Haman, was that Mordechai wasn't going to bow down to him, wasn't going to recognize his power. And while many might say, hey, that's inciting anti-Semitism, Mordechai says, no, that is the anti-Semitism. And we're not going to be giving in. But I'd like to talk about how Mordechai is introduced in the story of Purim, because this tells us a lot about Jewish leadership, Jewish resilience, and I think it's going to spill over to all sorts of resilience in even the micro parts of our life, the personal parts of our life, not just Jewish communal life, but personal life as well. The Megillah introduces Mordechai. I'm going to read it in Hebrew and I'll translate it, because you know my English is no good. Ish Yehudi. There was this Yehudi man, Jewish man, a man from Judah. That's what Yehudi means. A Jewish man, a man from Judah. This is the first time in the Bible that we're referred to as the Jews, by the way. That's important to know that. We'll circle back to that. Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan habira. There was this Yehudi man, Jewish man, guy from Judea, in the capital of Shushan, which was the capital. Right? This was in Persia. Ushmoi Mordechai. His name was Mordechai. Ben Yair, the son of Yair. Ben Shimi, who was the son of Shimi. Ben Kish, who was the son of Kish. Ish Yemini, he is from the tribe of Yemini, of Benjamin, of Binyamin.
Rabbi Josh.
Yes. No, go for it.
Did we start a recording for this?
Yeah. It's on a different device.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you have this man named Mordechai, who's in the capital of Shushan, and is referred to as a Ish Yehudi. But did you notice something interesting here? He's an Ish Yehudi. He's from the tribe of Yehuda. And it says at the end of the sentence, he's Ish Yemini. He's from the tribe of Benjamin. He's from two different tribes. How is that possible? That's question number one. Why is he called Ish Yehudi? The truth is, he wasn't from the tribe of Yehuda, of Judah. He was from the tribe of Benjamin. But for some reason, the Megillah is referring to him as Ish Yehudi, the man of Yehudi. That's question number one. Question number two, why are we, before even saying his name, we mentioned the tribe that he's not even part of? Right, I'll read it again. Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan habira. There was this man, a Yehudi man, in the capital of Shushan. His name was Mordechai. Why don't you tell me his name, tell me his lineage, then you could discuss where he was located and stuff like that. Rashi says, if you look at Rashi in the Megillah, Rashi says that the reason why he's identified as Ish Yehudi, a man from Judah, even though that's not his lineage is Benjamin, Rashi says because he was from the region of Yehuda. The land of Israel was divided into regions according to the tribes. And the region of Judah, anybody know which city occupied the region of Judah, of Judea? If there's any anti-Semites listening to this, by the way, Judea is where Mordechai lived. He lived in Judea. Because he lived in Judea, he was called Ish Yehudi. Where was Judea?
In the West Bank.
Right. Jerusalem.
Oh, I was right. Yeah.
Right?
Hebron.
Jerusalem. And the reason why is because he was the head of the Sanhedrin. He was the head of the High Rabbinical Court of 71 judges. And that's where he resided. Because he was from Yehuda, he's called Ish Yehudi. That's what Rashi says. The Gemara in the Talmud in Tractate Megillah says something else. The Talmud in Tractate Megillah says that his father is from Benjamin, so his mother is from Judah. That's what the Talmud says, that he's actually from both, and that's why he's identified as both. Which is an interesting thing, because we know explicitly in the Torah, in the book of Numbers, that tribes follow patriarchal, is that the word? Patriarchal, help me out, guys. Follows the father, how about that? Follows the patriarch. It's patriarchal. Can't do it. Patriarchal, is that what it is? Okay, I thought... That's what I thought. Patriarchal. Tribes are patriarchal. Jewish lineage is matriarchal. Tribes follow the father. Jewish lineage follow the mother. It says that explicitly in the book of Numbers. And the reason for that is the core essence of Jewish identity is carried through the feminine. That's feminine power. That's the power that women have. The bells and whistles of Judaism, if you will, not the identity of Judaism, the essence and core of Judaism, but just the tribe, which is more of an external function, that's men. Right? The less important part of Judaism, as it were, that's a male trait. That's a patriarchal trait.
I just looked at it. It's patriarchal.
Patriarchal? Okay, man. We're gonna have to do some serious editing on this. But the Talmud says the reason why he's identified as a man of Judah and a man of Benjamin, because he comes from both tribes. His father from Benjamin, his mother from Judah. That is highly unusual. You're not going to see anywhere in the Bible, other than this case, somebody traced back to his mother's lineage in terms of tribes, in the context of tribes. It doesn't come up anywhere in the Bible. This is very unique. Why? Essentially going back to our original question, why are we identifying him as Ish Yehudi? Rashi says he's from the region of Judah. The Talmud says, well, his mother was from Judah. But why are we doing that? Why is that relevant? So I want to share with you two answers. Answer number one is from a commentary on the Talmud known as the Chemdat Yehoshua. And he says that the reason why it's tracing his lineage to both his mother and father, Yehuda and Binyamin, is because there's lessons we can draw from both of them in the strength of Mordechai. Mordechai was a very strong person, and I don't mean physiologically. I mean, he was a strong-willed person. He was a powerful person. He was the Moses of the generation, and he did not care about political pressure whatsoever. He did not want to bow down to Haman. He gathered all the Jewish children when gathering was illegal. Religious gatherings, Jewish religious gatherings anyway, was illegal. And this commentary explains that where did he get that strength from? He got that from Yehuda, from Judah. Judah was described in Jacob's blessing to his son Judah as Gur Aryeh, a roaring lion. And the symbolism in Jerusalem to this day, which was the land of Judea, is the lion, because it's that strength. King David, who represents strength, right? He killed Goliath. Comes from the lineage of Judah, of Yehuda. And Mordechai, at least on his mother's side, had inherited that strength. Even though the tribe is not so relevant, the strength he drew from that tribe is very relevant. And he also got something from Benjamin, from the tribe of Benjamin. And you know what that was? Hope. Where do you see hope in Benjamin? So you see it in two places. Number one, this might be a little okay. Whoever's listening to this might think it's a little far-fetched, but hear me out here, because I didn't see this directly. But Binyamin represents hope because Binyamin is innocence. Binyamin is the only of the 12 tribes, of the 12 brothers, that didn't sin. He's the only one. He was born after, right after the quarrel of the brothers. And that's why, actually, by the way, the commentaries explain that most of Jerusalem was in the tribe of Yehuda, but the altar in the temple, which was in Jerusalem, was actually in the region of Benjamin, because the altar represents forgiveness for sin. And the type of forgiveness you want is the one that leads to total innocence, like Binyamin. Which I gotta believe innocence translates into hope, but I haven't seen that anywhere in the commentaries, so I don't want to say that authoritatively. But I did see something else. You know who else comes from Binyamin that represents hope or trust? Faith? A man named Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon ben Aminadav was the first guy who jumped into the sea prior to it splitting because he believed it was going to split. And he jumps in and nothing happens, and he goes further and further up until his nose, and the sea finally split. He had faith, he had trust. And Mordechai was a direct descendant from both Judah and Benjamin, representing strength, representing faith and trust.
A quick aside question.
Yeah.
So with Nachshon, mi chamocha, mi kamocha. There are discussions that say that has to do with Nachshon. True, false, unknown.
There's a fourth option. I plead the fifth. No, I don't know. But now I got homework to do.
Okay, all right.
It would make sense because contextually, I'm saying that's the song by the sea, right? It happened around then, right? In general, the whole song by the sea, which was where the Mikamocha is taken from, represents the trust that Nachshon had. I'll give you an example. I know this is a little bit of a diversion, but we'll put this in brackets. The song by the sea, it says, Oz Yasher, Moshe of Israel. Then the Jewish people and Moshe will sing. Well, what do you mean they will sing? So if you look at the English translations, they translate it as they sang, because that's what happened. They left the sea and then they sang. But if you translate it literally, it says they will sing. Yashir means they will sing. So the commentary, Kedushas Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, says that they had committed to singing because they all had some sort of faith and trust. Nachshon actually acted on it because he actually jumped into the sea. He didn't just commit to faith. He actually, he didn't just talk the talk. He walked the walk, as we say. Let me share with you, though, another explanation. Why are we attributing Mordechai to both the tribe of Yehuda and the tribe of Binyamin? Why both of these? So one way to look at it, he's from the tribe of Binyamin because that was his patriarchal tribe. The tribe of Yehuda, the Talmud gives another answer. This is important. What does the word Yehuda mean? It comes from the word modeh, like moda'ani, which could mean to thank. It could also mean to concede. The Talmud says anybody who negates or denies idolatry, it's as if they've conceded to the whole Torah. That's why we're all called Jews, by the way. We're all called Yehudim, even though most Jews are not necessarily from the tribe of Judah, because every Jew concedes to God. And in this case, Mordechai conceded to God. And by the way, his concession to God came with a price. Not bowing down to Haman, I gotta imagine the spiritual state of the Jews up until Haman had announced that there's going to be a genocide was on ultimate low. They went to the feast of Achashverosh. They didn't belong there. They went there because they felt like they had to. They felt like they had to fit in, right? So they obviously weren't doing too well. Many of them were bowing down to Haman. When Mordechai says, I'm not bowing down to Haman, and now Haman wants to commit a genocide against the Jewish people, what are Jewish people saying about rabbis now? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Hopefully nothing, right? But Mordechai must have had an incredibly strong personality, a strong conviction. That's a Yehudi. Yehudi means I have conviction, and when you have conviction, we don't care about opinions. We don't care about the negative opinions of anti-Semites. We don't care about the opinions of Jews who are afraid of anti-Semites and want to hide. He had incredible conviction. But there's a commentary known as the Ya'arais Davash, and here's what the Ya'arais Davash says. How does the Megillah identify Mordechai? I'm going to read it again. Ish Yehudi Haya. There was this Yehudi person, this person who had incredible conviction. Where? Beshushan Habira. In the capital, Shushan. Specifically in the king's capital. In the political ground zero of the Purim story, he maintained conviction. He wasn't just a Yehudi in shul. He wasn't just a Yehudi in his home. He was a Yehudi. He was a proud, convinced Jew wherever he went. He had consistency. He was Ish Yehudi even in Shushan Habira, even in Shushan. This is the first identifying factor of a Mordechai, of Jewish leadership. If we wanted to replicate Mordechai, Jewish leadership, the first thing one would notice about us is that's a Yehudi, even in Shushan. On the 9th of Adar, in 1941, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson had come to the United States of America from the shores of Europe, escaping Nazi Germany and Nazi-infested Europe. And people were quite cynical. The Jewish community back in the shtetl were quite cynical of a rabbi laying seeds in America. Even back then, America was known as the melting pot. And people were afraid that we're going to lose Jewish vibrancy if you move to America. You're going to get too comfortable. In the shtetl, you're isolated, you're by yourself. And although we don't like oppression does have this funny way of keeping us in line with our Judaism. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, the previous Rebbe, said, in Yiddish, he famously said, America is nicht anders. America is no different. At least it doesn't have to be different. I was listening to a talk from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he was bringing about this idea that his father-in-law had shared, America is nicht anders, that America is no different. And one of the applications, the practical applications that the Rebbe had shared, was when we're in shul davening with our tefillin on, it's very obvious that we're Jewish. It's very obvious that we're connecting to Hashem. When we're eating dinner or lunch or breakfast, we're still connecting to Hashem if we choose. The difference is it's less obvious. But it's still opportunity to connect to Hashem, even though it's outside of the shtetl, even though it's in America, even though it's in a foreign space where the comforts of Judaism is not the same, but you're still making a blessing. It's still kosher food. It's still America is nicht anders. The place where Judaism seems to be harder to garner and harness and nurture, it doesn't have to be different. It's just less obvious. I was reading the diary, though, or it was actually a talk of the previous Rebbe, where he's describing his journey. And he says he's on the boat. And he says, I'm scared. and he said this in Yiddish, and I'm paraphrasing. This is not a direct quote, but he says, I'm scared as I'm coming to America. First of all, he says, I'm very uncomfortable. I'm not in my element. I'm with people that aren't my people, and I'm nervous. And he says, why am I nervous? Maybe the better word is concerned. Why am I concerned? I'm not concerned about how I'm going to get kosher food. I'll figure it out. I'm not concerned about how am I going to get a minyan. I'll figure it out. We'll build. How am I going to have, how am I going to sustain myself? Parnasa. How am I going to get a livelihood? I'll figure it out. That'll work itself out. My top priority right now, while he's on the boat, he says, how am I going to change America so America doesn't change me? That's my concern. Before even getting to America, he says, how am I going to change America so America doesn't change me? This was the Mordechai attitude. How am I going to build myself up so I can influence my surroundings and inspire other people so I don't become intimidated by my surroundings? There is a story. I shared this story with you, but it's one of my favorite stories. In the 1920s, there was a mashpia mentor in the Chabad yeshiva in Lubavitch, and then later Rostov, named Rabbi Chaim Kesselman. He was an incredibly dedicated teacher and mentor of the yeshiva, so dedicated that every time the yeshiva had to move because of communist Russia and the illegalities of hiding an underground education system, he would move along together with his family. And it got to a point where classes were held underground, illegally hidden. And they're in this basement, and he's teaching every single evening. He's teaching Tanya to the students. And they would have 2 students remaining outside in case the KGB comes. They would let them know, and they would pull out their dreidels. No, I'm kidding. They would, whatever they would do, right, to hide their studies. KGB got word of this, and they planted a soldier or officer in the classroom behind a door. And he's listening. He's in the room with his rifle, and he's ready to make arrests. And Reb Shlomo Chaim Kesselman at 9:00 at night, or whatever time it was, is teaching the Tanya, and the boys are listening intently, and they're getting all involved and engaged. And Reb Shlomo Chaim was a passionate, fiery person. And finally, the KGB officer pops out with his rifle, and everybody's just stunned. And he says, now what do you have to say? And Reb Shlomo Chaim Kesselman, without skipping a beat, slams his fist on the table and says, Ma'ariv, evening service, let's pray. Just like dismiss the guy. Like, that's my next comment, right? Like, what are you going to do now? Oh, we're going to do Ma'ariv, right? So the KGB officer was like shocked. Like, what just happened? He actually allowed them to continue their prayers. He then arrested Reb Shlomo Chaim Kesselman. And Reb Shlomo Chaim Kesselman was fined with community service. He had to clean up garbage. If I was Reb Shlomo Chaim Kesselman, and there's a good reason why I'm not, and I was given that fine, I would be in a very bad mood. I'd be very unhappy. I would think, God, I risked my life for you, and this is what you do to me. You make me clean up garbage. Thanks. But that's not what Reb Shlomo Chaim Kesselman did. Reb Shlomo Chaim put on his Shabbos clothes to go clean up the garbage. Because to him, he knew why he was cleaning up that garbage, because it was symbolic of his dedication. It was a badge of honor. He was going to wear Shabbos clothing to do this. Because it was a badge of honor that, and a testament to his commitment to his faith. Even in the capital of Shushan, as it were, even in the most unlikely of places, he remained a committed, strong Jew. He was Ish Yehudi. Even though he wasn't literally from the tribe of Judah, at least on his father's side, he was on his mother's side, but he was a Yehudi. He was a man with incredible, incredible conviction. Where did Mordechai get this strong level of conviction from? Now, the easy answer is, well, he's Mordechai. He's the leader of the generation. He's the Moses of the generation. That is true. That doesn't help us. Because we're not Moses, right? We're not Mordechai. But if we were to draw lessons from Mordechai, in trying to understand where he got that level of strength from, that level of conviction from, to remain a powerful and committed Jew, even when times were difficult, which is really what the miracle of Purim is, by the way. You know how long the story of Purim took? Anybody know? It took about a year. From the moment Haman made his genocidal announcement, it was an entire year. Because he made the raffle. Remember the raffle he made? Right? It was called Purim because he casted lots. He made a raffle on the 13th of Adar, and what came out was the 13th of Adar, the next year. And I saw a teaching...
Does that mean that the Megillah covers a year?
A little bit more, because there's a little bit before the, there's the party, and a little bit before that genocidal announcement, and then a little bit afterwards as well. I think the Megillah covers like 10 years, I think.
Oh, really?
But why an entire year? I mean, because that's what the raffle was. But why did God want it to be a year? So I saw in a teaching from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he suggested that when somebody comes out with a genocidal announcement, what do Jews do? They get inspired, right? When anti-Semites come out, we say, oh, no, you don't. I'm Jewish. Right, well, where were we? Where were we the past? Okay, whatever, right? We came out. We're excited. We're passionate. But are you passionate because of the anti-Semite? Are you inspired? Or is this real? Like similar to what we were talking about before. Are we encouraged or are we empowered? The entire year, it allowed us to harness and nurture the inspiration that we'd had. And show God that this is not just inspiration, this is real. This isn't just something that's going to fleet and that we're just committing to because there happens to be an anti-Semite. And how do we tap into that energy, though? So there's two qualities about Mordechai which I think we can all learn from. Number one, he was the head of the Sanhedrin. He was the head of the High Rabbinical Court of 71 judges. He was the epitome of Torah. And through Torah, we have the ability to remain incredibly strong. Torah strengthens us. When we study Torah, we're studying the values of God. When we study the values of God, we become more connected with our best self. I saw another teaching from the Lubavitcher. I had just read this a little bit before this class. I thought this was beautiful. In this week's Parsha, it's a pretty graphic portion, right? Moses gets angry at us because we cheated on God with the sin of the golden calf, and he breaks the tablets. But what does the Parsha open up with before getting into that? The Torah is not in chronological order. It talks about how we amend the golden calf saga. The half shekel donation. And Moshe has to collect the half shekel from everybody. But the language the Torah uses is kitisa et rosh bnei Yisrael. When you lift up the heads of the Jewish people, collect the half shekel from each person. Which is a poetic way of saying when you count the Jewish people, lift up their heads is a poetic way of saying counting. You're going to collect a half shekel, and that's going to be a kofer nefesh. That's going to be an atonement. How is that an atonement? Because when you lift up the head of a Jew, that's through Torah study. When we elevate our mind can reflect something deeper and prevent everything about to unfold. The sin of the golden calf. When our head is in the right space, the negativity doesn't matter. It's not relevant. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to fight it. Because we've lifted our head to the right space. Mordechai's head was in the right space, and that's through Torah study. That's number one. Number two. Let's go back to the introduction of Mordechai, the Megillah's introduction of Mordechai. Ish Yehudi Haya b'Shushan Habira. There was this Ish Yehudi, which we had elaborated on extensively, in the city of Shushan Habira. His name was Mordechai, the son of Yair, the son of Shimi, the son of Kish, the man from the tribe of Benjamin. Then the Megillah continues. Asher Hagla mi Yerushalayim, he was exiled from Jerusalem. Im Hagolah, Asher Haglata, with the entire exile that had taken place. Why are you telling us that? Why are you telling us that he was exiled from Jerusalem? You know who else was exiled from Jerusalem? Everybody. Wasn't just him. And by the way, we make a big deal out of that statement. When you're listening to the Megillah this year, take note that that sentence is read not in the classic Megillah, Purim, Esther, Megillah tune. It's read in the tune of Lamentations that we read on Tisha B'Av, right? It's a little bit more somber. Asher Haglam Yerushalayim. It's a little bit more somber. Something is sticking out here. Why do we need to know this? This man Mordechai, that from the tribe of Judah, who's not really from the tribe of Judah, but has the conviction of Judah, was exiled from Jerusalem. Well, yeah, we all were. So why are you telling us that? Mordechai was aware that I'm in Shushan and it's only for one reason. Because God put me here. If I had a choice, I'd be in Jerusalem. Well, why am I not in Jerusalem then? For some reason, God wants me in Shushan. And because he was aware that where he is no accident, and not his choice, but God's choice, he was filled with this sense of responsibility. If God put me here, it's for a reason. I have a shlichus. I have a mission. I have a purpose. And the moment our lives become purpose-oriented is the moment we have conviction and resilience. In today's portion of Tanya, chapter 33, it's one of my favorite chapters of Tanya. It talks about joy. And the Alter Rebbe says there, how do you get joy? Where does joy come from? He says, think about how relevant and how involved God is in creation. We see creation not just as something God did, but a part of who God is. And he brings numerous examples and beyond the scope of our discussion here. But he says what you'll discover is that God is very close. Which that itself is a very good feeling. If God is involved in every intimate detail of my life, that means he's very close to me. But it also means something else. If he's very close, why doesn't the world see it that way? Okay, so I'm also filled with a purpose now. To share that with the world. And that itself brings incredible joy. To invite God into our world is an incredibly joyous, a joyous mission. Mordechai was Ish Yehudi in Shushan because he had a mission. I'm going to remain true to my values and my beliefs and my faith and share and radiate that and inspire others, even in Shushan. And with that, there's incredible joy, incredible resilience to carry forth. That's the joy of Purim that we celebrate. Okay, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.